I only got one confession. Roll with the flow, and all I want is your attention. And I had to let you know. I only got one confession. Roll with the flow, and all I want is your attention. And I had to let you know.
Hello, it is Candace, your self-love financial coach, and I'm excited because, well, I'm about to share some great information with you, but on top of that, I empower inspired individuals to have a healthy relationship with themselves and with their money. So with that in mind, I have a guest here with me today, Mr. Annias Tate, and we're going to just have some talk, okay? Right. Can we just talk?
Yeah, let's talk.
So you're a professional, and it looks as if you're, well, I know you're educated because you can kind of tell when they're educated, right? He's educated, he's done some things, right? Done some great things. So did you went to college?
I did.
Where'd you go? Tell me about that experience.
I went to the University of Central Arkansas in Conway, UCA Bears, and it was a lot different than it is now. I feel like I went to college at the right time.
Interesting.
I really do, and it's hard for me to really put into words, but I don't think the college experience is still the same now as it was then.
I would agree with that. So I went to Henderson State in Arkadelphia, where I pledged the greatest sorority in the world, Delta Sigma Theta, the only one. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I got a little extra. Okay. Before I go there, did you pledge?
Yep,
did you pledge?
I actually did. So I'm a member of Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated.
Awesome.
We were brought to the state December '98. So we're not, we were founded in '63. So 50 some years, after you guys. But we're the new guys to the NPHC, which makes the Divine Nine now.
Right.
So it was an experience.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it really was.
The reason I say that, so I pledged Delta at Henderson State University, the greatest sorority in the world. I keep saying that because we know Delta is just everything. But anyway, so with that, when I was there, but when I went to Henderson, it was the school with the heart. So it was great. It was wonderful. It was an experience. But my sister, who recently graduated, so maybe 4 years later, like, she just had such a different experience. It was just different. And I asked her questions like, hey, did you go to the quad today? Because on the quad, everybody hanging out. You see fraternity, sorority, it's just so much fun. And she was just like, oh no, I went to my room, and I was like, what's your room? Like, that's not a thing. Well, it used to not be. But because the experience is different, when you say that, I can understand where you're coming from.
I was a graduate advisor for the chapter at UCA for a while. And when I went to talk to administration, they even acknowledged that, Annias, when you were here, it was completely different.
Wow.
A lot of kids aren't really looking, I say kids, young adults, so,
right.
Whatever. But they're not really looking into going into Greek life. And, and so that really made the pool of candidates a lot smaller. What I was told by several institutions, I also was a part of helping establish our chapter at UAPB. And the focus, and that's a historically black college here in Arkansas, and it's just different. Greek life isn't as important as it used to be, and I think it's more of think about Greek life. For me, it was that interaction. I wanted to go to the rink. A lot of people may not know about the rink now, but it was the rink in Conway. Everybody would come to Conway to party from everywhere.
We did.
You know,
you hear me? We
did.
And
and so it wasn't. I didn't really get. I still live in Conway, but I don't really even hear about. Maybe it's because I'm too old now. I don't know. I don't know if that's what it is or not. But I still have fraternity brothers. They're still out there in that world. But you don't really hear about it as much.
That makes sense.
And so what I was told by administration at a lot of these universities is that they're more focused on their careers than maybe the social, physical contact that, I guess I grew up and used to.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I don't know, but that could be the experience. What do you think? It's just
I don't
different.
know. I felt like pledging was wanting to pledge, and of course you didn't tell anybody about it at the time, but just having that thought that I want to be a Delta, you know, just having that thought process and then going through with the process, it was an experience, and it was different from just the normal going to class, mundane kind of thing. It was like, okay, I get to know people outside of just me going to my classroom. I get to build a sisterhood, and granted, like, of course, we're people. Everybody are people. Everybody's not going to always get along, right? So we're not always sisterly. I'm sure you're not always brotherly. True. But that's what makes a sisterhood. Because if it was always perfect, right? I mean, what would be the point? Right. So just coming together, meeting other people, being able to share your experience with other people, it was great. So now it's just like, oh, you go to class and go home. It's like, that's it's just kind of different. That's what I'll say. So. I don't know if it's falling off. Like, tell me this. What do you feel like you gained from pledging Iota?
Well, really, I've never been the one that goes with the crowd.
That's good.
You know, and
you're right.
That's what drew me to Iota.
That's good.
Is, you know, it was going to be a challenge. It wasn't going to be easy. I wasn't going to be able to just join the organization and just, you know, assimilate to how they wanted me to be.
Right.
When I joined the fraternity, there were people from different walks of life. You know, some people that you would say, oh, I knew he would have pledged that or something like that. And so I could see that there were different people, and they didn't try to make me be who they wanted me to be.
That's good.
You know, they allowed me to be, you know, if I wanted to be, you know, pretty one day, I could do that. If I didn't want to do that, you know, I didn't have to. It wasn't, you know, I had to fit a certain mold.
That makes sense.
And that was really, and the fact that I just didn't want to do what everybody else did. I wanted to just kind of stand out, and, you know, I enjoyed it. Like when I first joined the organization, I went home, and, you know, people were like, oh, did you pledge this?
Oh, wow.
Nah, I didn't. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I just knew you was going to pledge this. And I'm like, nah, no. Why'd you think that? Well, you know, this is how you were in school.
Yeah.
That's how, you know, what does that have to do with today? Yeah. And so I just think people just kind of evolve. And, you know, Greek life is good for some. But not for everybody.
That's true.
You know, because sometimes Greek life brings out something that's not good.
That's true. That's true. And that was one of the things I thought about when I was getting ready to pledge. Is like, okay, when I look at Delta, I can see myself doing that because I am already doing these qualities. These are things that I'm already doing. This is a representation of really who I am. It's just in a larger scheme, and it's something greater than myself. So when I looked at it, that's how I seen it. I didn't see Delta to make me a Delta, like to make me a person. Right. And I think that also is maybe a different view that some people have about pledging. But then from the other experience, like I met so many women, and like now from a professional standpoint, oh my God, it's like, oh, you're a Delta, you're my sister. Right. Like, okay. Right. And now when you have that connection, that's one thing that kind of brings you together. But then let's say I meet let's say, for example, an AKA or a Zeta. I still have the same amount of respect for them because I know what the process is like to go through joining an organization. So there's still a large or high scale of respect, not just because you didn't pledge Delta. It's okay, we all make mistakes, right? I get it. But, no, just kidding.
She's not kidding.
No. But what I'm saying is I still have respect for you because I know that's a process. And I know whenever they're choosing their women, they choose women of high esteem as well. You know, so I think that's a process. So
did you have like relatives that were Deltas?
No. I have some, but at the time when I was getting ready to pledge, it was a secret, and they said don't tell anybody. So like I didn't tell.
You didn't tell anybody.
Family members.
Yes, you got to tell your mom or somebody.
Well, my mama knew, but she's not. It wasn't like lineage or anything like that. Like she didn't pledge, but I think if she had a choice today, she would probably do it.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. She still has grand chapter.
Yes,
you know,
she do.
You know, you can write that recommendation for
True.
It, you know?
What about yourself?
Yeah. Well, no, I actually have like members from all the other Greek organizations.
Wow. And, so you were the game changer.
Yeah, I did it, and so my younger brother, he actually, shortly after I pledged, I went home for one weekend, and I left a shirt there. And so maybe the next week I get a call And it's one of the old teachers from my school. He went to UCA as well, and he was like, "Tell your brother don't wear your shirt no more." You know, like he wore the shirt to school, but he didn't know.
Yeah,
you know, he was still young, and you know, he was kind of growing up, and he kind of grew up into it. And he actually became a member in Alabama State when he went there on a band scholarship. But you know, it's just kind of something that's changing. Yeah. I recently I was in Chicago last month, and I met a cousin that never met before, but he's a member of IOTA. Yeah. And so we just kind of got that bond, and I'm like, it's not just us,
right?
You know, because we're not the largest and we're not the most talked about. But we do have brothers that are really, you know, making an impact in the community.
That's awesome.
And so, you know, it was. You see, I'm over here gushing. I'm like, yeah, you know, hey, I did what I needed to do,
right.
and I really enjoyed it. Yeah,
That's good.
So let me ask you this: did you do any stepping or anything?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh Lord, yeah. One of the most excruciating processes in the world. Like, you work so hard for step shows.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so I pledged IOTA Delta in spring 11. Okay. So we were the ones on the yard, and people had graduated, so we almost didn't have a choice. Okay. If we were going to do it, it had to be majority of us do it, and it was an excruciating process, but it was fun. And we didn't win that year.
You just stepped for 1 year?
Yeah, one.
That's it?
I only needed one in my life. Okay. But we didn't win that year, but the girls after us, they did. They did well. So it was great. And I pledged a couple of lines. So it was good.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, you pledged them? You mean like intake or something?
It's an intake process. What they call it our neos. That's what we call it, neos. Okay. So you pledge them, you bring them in, you teach them the ropes of Delta and things like that. So you make sure that they follow the rules, policies, and procedures. That's what we do.
I just wanted to make sure nobody accused you of hazing.
No, absolutely not. Delta is a non-hazing sorority. Thank you. Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated is a non-hazing sorority, and we do not play games. And they will cease and desist you in a second. So no, we don't do that. Yep. Let's be real clear.
Well, we did. You know, I was actually a part of. You know, I pledged Gamma Upsilon chapter spring 2002, and pretty much for the beginning of the 2000s, we were the step team. Oh, you know, we traveled, you know, around, you know, surrounding states. You know, really? we won. You know, I don't know. Do you remember like the End of the World step show that used to be at UCA? Yeah. You know, I think we were, you know, toward the end of that, but we had that disappearing act, and so you know, that was something that we did that really just kind of left the imprint for the End of the World. But you know, the Renaissance step show, I think they still have that at Euler. You know, we used to win that every year. Nice. And so, you know, I didn't want to leave college because of that. You know, I just knew stepping was going to take me to, like, you know, another level.
He's gonna be like on Stomp the Yard.
Yeah, well, we actually. Do you remember the little the BET version that came out? What was it called? It wasn't Stomp the Yard. It was like Step and Faison Love was in it. So we went to Houston, and we stepped at a step show in Houston, and we actually won that step show.
Oh wow!
For a part in that movie, but they wanted us to pay our way, you know, like, listen, I'm used to listen. If I'm gonna come, you know, be in your movie, you got to pay me to show up. Yeah. And so they didn't want to pay us to show up for our travel and stuff like that. So it wasn't a good move. But you know, during that time, stepping was becoming like really popular. So we did do a couple casting calls for like some reality shows. Oh, that's really cool. For like BET.
Y'all were real good. Like you being humble about it, but y'all were really good.
We were. We was out there for a while. That's dope. And you know, we did Spring Bling in Miami with BET. Nice. And so, you know, see,
you're fancy, man.
Listen, I want to go back. Right. You know, those were the easy days. Like, I love what I do now. I love helping people. But, you know, it was just a much simpler time. Right. You know, we were just really enjoying ourselves.
Tell me about this. So you say you want to go back. Where are you from?
I'm actually from Helena. I'm from Eastern Arkansas. It's Helena, West Helena now, but I'm from Helena, okay? You know, that's where I'm from. And, you know, it's really, I guess it's just a testament to, like, my community and my family, is because a lot of the people in my community or my neighborhood. I'm from like, the north side of Helena, over the levee. People, it's a lot of people from Helena that's in the area, so they're gonna know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
But it just wasn't the best area. It was like, if you go on my street today, it's probably 5 houses. Wow. I was one of the houses, but around the rest of them, it's like, I don't want to say project housing, but like community housing.
Okay.
And so, I feel really blessed that I was able to not fall into that trap, and my mom and dad, they were different. They don't leave the yard. Right. You know what I'm saying? You got to be home. The kids don't know anything about the street lights.
No.
They be at home before these street lights come on. Yeah, I just see this. A lot of kids, they don't
go outside anymore.
They don't go outside, yeah. They're just on social media all day.
Right.
And
video games.
That's all they do.
Yeah.
And, and just thinking about like college, I think, I don't know about you, if you come across a lot of people with like student loan debt.
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%.
Yeah.
Coffee in the coffee in the coffee. coffee in the coffee in the coffee.